with our reserve, Ella Hewley. Let's go ahead and keep it rolling into class 39. We have Carly Thomas and Riley Sudreth for our percentage and heifer.
Really nice pair of cattle here to start your percentage show. I like the young lady's heifer here in the back here to be your class winner. She's just a little more refined and ladylike to me. And mainly the big difference, I see her longer and leveler in terms of her hip and a little sounder in terms of her hind leg. Not as bold, not as dimensional as what your second place heifer is, but I just liked her feminine look, a little bit nicer. A big bone, real big ribbed and powerful heifer comes here in second. And the Baldy, she gets just a little round from hooks to pins for me, a little shuffly in the way her hind leg will operate in motion. But both those cattle are really, really close, just very different. I like the structure and the look here of your class winner. Those two young ladies did a good job here. Would you guys give them a round of applause if you're sitting ringside, please?
Class winner was Carly Thomas with Riley Sudreth as our reserve. Class 40 has 3 entries coming into the ring. Gunnar Crawford, Malachi Music, Ellie Shooping.
Well, I think some discussion here between second and third in this particular group, but I really like the solid black heifer that'll lead you out. Great footed, super sound with a great rib shape laid into her, and then just very attractive in the way she comes together. I thought she was better in her spine, her body, and her structure than the red heifer, and just a little more refined and classy there through her front end than the black and white heifer that comes in next. The black and white heifer, I think, is just a little more my kind in terms of her structure of her spine, her top line, and her rib shape. As you build that heifer from the ground up, a bigger footed, bolder topped option. I like her hip and her spine a little bit nicer, but she's not as neat through her front end or as loose in terms of her structure as your class winner, but certainly fits in the mix really, really well. There's a lot of intriguing parts of the red heifer coming here in third. A really, really nice neck, good fronted type of a heifer that's attractive from the profile. For me, in motion is where she needs to go third here in the group. She's pretty snug and tight in terms of her body, and I could forgive that there for spine. Worked a little bit better. She's a little weird out of her tail head. She'll elevate in terms of her spine, so that's why I thought she needed to round out this class. But three good cattle with some challenge to them. Second and third had some discussion, but a good class nonetheless.
Congratulations to Malachi Music as our Class 40 winner. Gunnar Crawford is our reserve. Class 41 out of the total of 45 classes. We have a single entry for this class, and Ellie Shooping.
Very competitive single entry, red and white baldy here. A really, really attractive heifer that comes back good in her lines. I like her freshness. I like her look and her eye appeal from the profile. You know, again, as we discussed on your last heifer, when she goes in motion, she can make a longer stride out of her hind leg and just free up her spine just a little bit for me. But right there, when she's parked and posed, certainly an attractive, good lined heifer, has a lot of quality to her. This young lady showed a handful of them today in a lot of different breeds and has done a marvelous job. Give her a good round of applause here as she exits on a nice single entry.
Two more classes for this group. Three entries for Class 42 in Daisy Abrazino, Jason Barnhart, Anna Lale. You can start lining up for the drive for this class, or this group, excuse me.
Very nice trio of them. We're going to leave them the way they came in. Young lady in the blue shirt there's got your class winner, and just a really complete cow. She's probably not just the freakiest necked or the most out there that we've seen today, but it all fits. It balances well. She's got enough rib and body to make a good cow. I like her frame score, her structure very, very well. And again, just a really complete heifer with no big holes. I think she'll make a wonderful cow for you come off the halter, because just super complete in terms of her kind. Second and third, I thought I had a little discussion. I prefer just the smoothness of shoulder and the extra extension found in the star-headed heifer coming in next. A really, really nice neck, good shoulder type of a female. Not as good in her body type as the one we went ahead and started. I'd like to soften her up a little bit in terms of her flank to run there with your class winner. That's why I thought about switching these two young ladies. I actually like the moderation, the softness of body, and the fleshing ability of your heifer, and she reaches really good in terms of her hip and her hind leg. She's just a little straighter and coarser up to her shoulder and her knee for me, a little heavier in terms of her condition, but a nice trio. 3 good cattle there with a lot of differences amongst them there.
Class 43 is our last class for the percentage Simmental breeding heifers. With a single entry for Class 43 is Jordan Simmons. And then we'll have the drive for this group.
Good single entry to round out your percentage show, and like we've said many times, I think this heifer is going to add some value here to our overall lineup. Just a world of a cow. Again, big rib cage, really, really smooth and good in her fleshing ability. I thought structurally still very, very functional in the way she's made. You know, she's hitting that point, again, in terms of age and gestation, where she's a little shuffly and a little short in her stride of her hind leg, and we can lean her up through her shoulder and her chest floor just a little bit. As I said, she's going to add a big rib and a lot of mass and dimension here to our overall lineup. We're going to have a good percentage drive here in a second. Congratulations to you. A very nice percentage show, and as you'd expect here when you get into some of these percents and composite breeds, we do have some different kinds represented here amongst this lineup, but ultimately I think 5 good cattle here that represent your class winners. Talk about the young lady's heifer circling now, just a real classy, attractive heifer. I could relax her hind leg and her spine just a little bit. Young man, solid black one, hit me real hard, and I like that heifer very well. Great feet and legs with a gorgeous look, enough rib, enough body as you get down to her. I think that one's very nice. The red and white Brockwire, real attractive heifer, probably could be looser in her spine and her structure. And then we talked about the young lady's heifer circling right now, just a roll of a cow, real complete in her overall makeup. You know, maybe not just as fresh and as attractive through her front end, and she could hinge just a shade looser as well in her structure. but standing still, that heifer's very, very nice. A lot of the same can be said about the big cow here. Just overwhelming in her dimension. Big rib, big-bodied female. I'd like to freshen her up just a little bit and see her looser in her hind leg, but certainly a really, really good female to add quality to the lineup here. So 5 good classes here in your percentage show. And, buddy, well, you can just go ahead and circle her around here. Young man circling's got your champion. Give him a good round of applause if you guys would.
Thanks, sir.
Good job, brother.
While we're getting our cows positioned, it would be a good time for us to talk about our judge this weekend, who's done a phenomenal job, Connor Brew. Can we give a big hand for him for us? He's done fantastic. Connor's originally from Elkhart, Indiana, and currently resides in Lubbock, Texas. Connor became very involved in showing and judging at a young age, and in his later teens and 20s, he attended South Plains College in Loveland, Texas. He was named a high individual at the National Western and American Royal, while also being an academic All-American. He made his way to Texas Tech to complete his bachelor's degree in animal sciences and a business concentration. And him and his wife, Mallory, currently reside in Lubbock, where they are livestock judging coach at South Plains College, and he really enjoys evaluating and working with youth nationwide. Like I said, he's been great with us all weekend, just really attentive to these kids, really showing them the attention they need to, progress in their field. And we just can't say enough thanks to him. So thanks again, Connor. Give him one more big round of a hand for everybody here.
Well, to get your reserve percentage, truthfully to me, this is probably the toughest decision I've had to make all weekend. I think we have a lot of really nice cattle out here. Yet at the same time, each one of them has that one thing I kept coming back to that I'd like to just alter there. We talked about the Class 1 heifer there, maybe just a little tight in her forerib, a little piecey in motion. Buddy's drops in, and she's a big, powerful cow that's muscular and stout, a little coarser through her shoulder for me. The red and white heifer's beautiful from the side. Her spine and her body type bug me just a little bit, but certainly one in the mix from the side. Young lady there in the glasses, we talked about one. She's a no-thrills type of a cattle. She won't just drop your eyes or just stop you in your tracks, but when you break her down, really, really complete. A big, massive cow that's just a bit plain from the profile. So I think you can go a lot of different directions here. The one I think follows suit in terms of rib, body, structure, and looking like a good cow, but still being a show heifer. I like this young lady here in the blue to be reserved. Congrats to her.
Congratulations to our champion, Malachi Music, and Daisy Abrazino as our reserve. Our last class is Scottish Highland breeding heifer with a single entry, Kaylee Phillips. And then we'll line up for the Supreme. Announcement from the arena. There's another entry for the Scottish Highland. Isabel Honeycutt, she's next, and that'll finish us out before the Supreme drive.
A good little pair of Highlanders here, and haven't seen many since I was in Scotland a couple of years ago, but a very useful breed. They're very good cattle, and our little orange cattle here, she's a moderate little tyke, but she's big-footed and big-boned and good-bodied, and certainly make a good cow for you. The big black heifer there comes with a really nice extension, a good set of feet and legs. We'll get just a little round in terms of hooks to pins and her hip design, but certainly a really, really useful cow. Both these females are class winners here, so then we pick you a champion reserve. I like the big heifer in the back there to be champion. Little heifer will be reserve. If you would, give both them a nice round of applause, please.
Congratulations, Kaylee Phillips is our class champion. And Isabel Honeycutt is our reserve. Isabel Honeycutt is our champion with Kaylee Phillips as our reserve. My apologies. Lining up for the Supreme Champion Drive is next. Just a reminder, if you want to take pictures with Cindy Lou Who, Grinch, and Santa, it's out to our left of the tent.
as we start wrapping up your heifer show. I believe we got just a few steers to put together as well after this. But I'll tell you what, if you don't like these heifers that are out here in your final drive, man, you need to get the eyes checked because these cattle are really, really good. I did not know what to expect. As I said many times, I've judged a lot of sheep and goat shows out here on this side of the country and a couple pig, but only one cattle show, and it was just all right. But I didn't know what to expect here on a Sunday morning. We have some really, really competitive cattle nationwide here in the ring in front of us. And so before we go any further here, we got a crowd built back up, some supporters. If you guys would, make some noise for these young people with a good round of applause, please. And I kind of made a joke just a little bit ago, but if the cattle show was the first night, Friday night, I probably would have got on a flight Saturday morning because it was all checked off for the weekend because I don't know how you're going to turn or beat this particular show. I mean, these cattle are really, really good. We started out with the AOB division. If you don't like her, again, I don't know if you like good livestock. Same could be said about the Angus, the Charolais, the other Charolais, Hereford, all of them. I think all these cattle are really exceptional. They've been very fun to work through and put together. They don't all look just identical, and their top five certainly not going to look the exact same, but I'm never one of those that say they have to. I think all these cattle represent their breed. They represent their kind very, very well. Not a big grand dry speech guy or anything like that, but it certainly has been a lot of fun. If you guys are going to leave here after the heifer show, I know we don't have a lot of steers. Again, find everybody up here, our announcer, media crew, photographer, everybody putting this show on, Neil, Crystal, everybody. They don't do it here for the thanks. They do it because they like your kids and they like supporting this industry. So they've gotten a lot of sponsors. They've gotten a lot of money and buckles and banners for you kids. So I know how this goes. I do it every single day for a living. My wife and I do, and it really comes down to one thing. You get done with the show, kids, we're going to break down cattle, dad's throwing stuff in the trailer, mom's packing the cooler and getting everything put back in line, and then you just run out as quick as you possibly can and get you some fast food on the way home. Make sure once you throw everything in the trailer, come back here while everybody's tearing stuff down and really wrapping up the weekend. Find them and tell them thank you here for supporting your kids. There's, I think they said 13 states maybe represented through the weekend, and that is absolutely incredible. It's awesome to see. I told you earlier at the start of the week, I don't judge a lot of shows this time of the year with my job and what we do at home. So I wanted to take this job just because I knew this would be a really cool show, and it seems like they're doing it for the right reasons, and that's what it's about for me. So if you guys would, everybody that put this show on, again, from photographer, media, Crystal, Neil, everybody, give them a good hand for me, please. This is a thankless job, I promise you that. Again, I've been in the industry for long enough to know that. We all are competitive. We all like to win, and I promise you I like to win more than anybody here in this building, and I promise you that. But make sure, again, it's a jackpot show at the end of the day. So before you leave here, if you don't like the cattle I use, perfectly fine. You don't have to. I've never said you do. But what you won't do is leave here and talk bad about somebody else's kid, because that's been driving me nuts in this industry. You can disagree with the judge. I sign up for that. I get a check at the end of the day, so I really don't care. But you can't make fun or talk bad about somebody else's kid, and I'm very big on that. Our top five is exceptional, and there's one, to me, when you're judging a Supreme Heifer show, a lot of times, in a bear show, we go to the crossbred right away. Same with the market lambs. That's why I love a heifer show, because they're still breed for breed. That's your job as an evaluator. And my collegiate coach, Dr. Ryan Rathman, if you guys know good cattle and you're familiar with the cattle business, he tells us every day when you're judging a Supreme Drive, you ask yourself, is that the best Hereford I've ever seen? Is that the best Charolais I've ever seen? And really work through breed for breed. Where do they stack up nationwide? And I certainly think your champion does so very, very well. We'll get you a top five here. We'll drop in some reserves behind your champions here. But once again, it's been an absolute blast judging your cattle show. Pay them off with another big round of applause here. We're going to get you a top five. As I said, I thought breed for breed, that female there is awfully hard pressed to turn here in this lineup. Again, we have some big cows, some little calves. It's never been my goal to kind of make sure they stack the exact same weight. But when you get a good one that's that big and ready to rumble, you usually don't beat them in any scenario. This is the last time I'll take the mic here in your heifer show. If you're heading out, God bless you and safe travels here as you're heading home. And I wish you the best of luck as you keep going. Give them another nice round of applause here, and we'll go ahead and get you a top 5.
Congratulations to Trey Davis as our champion and Ellie Shuping as our reserve. Skylar Crocker is our 3rd place. Caleb Davis is 4th, and Ellie Shuping is 5th. Take a 10 to 15-minute break, hopefully less. And we'll get our prospect steer show going. Going to kick off our prospect steer show with 3 entries in Class 1. Coming into the ring, we have Ben Holland, Grace Starcher, Gunnar Crawford.
Well, I thought we had an exceptional heifer show, and I know numbers are a little lighter on the cattle side and the steer side, but I'm very much looking forward to it. A good class of prospects to start you out, and I never thought I'd use a Belty steer to win a class, but I did, and I think this calf's very, very nice. He's got more body and just rib and dimension than the other 2 steers coming in behind, but again, that's not why he wins. I think that calf looks like a good market steer, but I liked his structure really well when he got out and went in motion. I do like the solid black steer a little nicer from the profile. He's really nice necked and smooth in his shoulder. Comes down good in terms of his lines. Buddy, for me, I'd like to lay him back in his shoulder just a little bit, and he's just a little tighter and more snug there in his body type, but certainly a contrasting pair of cattle there on the front end. The star-headed steer coming in next, a really one that's got a good type of a feeding look to him, nice in his body, good in his structure. Just wanted to power him up as I got right on top and right in behind him, just a little narrower pinned, a little flatter gauge. But good start here to your prospect show. Congratulations to those 3.
Class 1 winner is Grace Starcher, with Ben Holland as our reserve. Class 2 coming into the ring is 4 entries. We have Braxton Bowers, Carter Slate, Katie Mitchell, Skylar Crocker.
not exactly sure how many numbers we have in your prospect show, but I'd be betting, man, to say you're going to have to bring a real nice one to beat this calf up front. I like this white flank steer a good deal. He looks like he's going to be a great feeding steer because he's extra punchy and dense and big-middled and huge-bodied, but then still presents a really attractive look there through his front end. I think time will tell, but that calf to me, real hard to turn because he really combines a show steer look with true stoutness of skull and forearm and foot and bone. You watch that steer go right away from you there for a haired-up little black show doll. He's still got some width and some punch to him. I like that calf very, very well. From the profile, I think the smoke steer, the gray steer can run with him. A really long neck, good-looking steer, and I like his design from the side there. Again, you watch those cattle just walk right away from you. Not as much in the seat of his pants or his britches. I'd like to open him up and punch him up just in relation to our winner, but certainly an attractive, good neck, nice-looking type of a steer. I think there is more muscle found in the Brockle. That's why I had some discussion amongst this class here because that steer is real moderate. Looks like he's going to be a big rib, good feeding steer. That's really, really nice in terms of his production. Maybe just a little plainer there up through his neck and his front end and shoulder in relation to those next two cattle, but certainly a good-bodied, moderate, good feeding type of a calf. I thought about switching these two because, buddy, I see some promise in your red steer here. He's very green, very juvenile still in terms of his forerib, his body, and his muscle when I get behind him. But I do think in relation to the steer in front of you, a little longer fronted, a little sounder in terms of hip and hind leg, a big-footed, big-bone steer. Time will tell. Again, if he softens up and gets enough to him, I certainly think he runs up a spot or two in this particular class.
Our class winner is Skylar Crocker, with Braxton Bowers as our reserve. Coming in for Class 3 is 3 entries with Susanna Huey, Colt Thomas, Trey Mills.
This is one of those trios, again, that I won't argue with you. If you like any of these 3 cattle, they're very, very different. Where I'm at in a prospect setting, structurally, the one I feel the most comfortable with is the black and white steer up front, a really nice-looking, good rib steer. But mainly, his advantages lie just in terms of hind leg quality. He's stouter and sounder in his pastern than the steer in behind. And I really thought shoulder shape and just looseness and comfort of hind leg I liked a little bit better than the black and white steer. So for me, he kind of just puts it all together. Buddy, of the class, he's probably the widest muscled when I get right in behind him and could use a little more upper rib shape. But I think feeding-wise and continuation as they continue to grow, that's the calf I bank on here. The Brockle steer, the young lady does an awesome job with. You've done all weekend. That steer is a really big rib, good-bodied steer. And I thought he was sounder in his shoulder and his knee than the steer that's going to close. Sweetie's a little short pastern, a little tight in his ankle for me, and just not as attractive as the steer we went ahead and let off with. Again, I understand If you're a fan of here, this black and white steer, he's got the big, big legs, really, really stout, muscular, powerful calf. To me, structurally, the shorter cannon calf's just a little straight, a little tender, and a little tight in the way he's moving off either end, but a big, powerful steer to round out a good class there. Congratulations to those three.
Class winner was Colt Thomas, and Susanna Huey is our second. Class 4 rolling in with 2 entries with Tatum Mills and Blaine Abrazino.
Another one of those pairs that's certainly very different in terms of type and kind. I prefer the balance and structure here. The young man steer that's going to lead you out. He's longer in his hip. He's leveler in his spine. And with that calf's just a little sounder in his rear foot and pastern, a little better in his body type as well. Maybe not just as extra dense and stout and as big-legged as the calf that comes in next. But, man, he balances really, really well. That's a very complete steer there nonetheless. And I think he's just really hard to pick major holes in. And I guess for me, if you want to say that either one of them has more muscle, I think you get right up in front of him. This cattle's truly wider in his base and square in the way his knee and shoulder lays into his body. Now, this black and white steer's got a lot of really neat parts and pieces to him. He is a big, big-footed and legged steer. I love his muscle down his top line. And, again, very big in his forearm. For me, as you watch that steer go in motion or stand still, just gets too up under himself. In terms of his hind leg, a little tighter in his body type, but a good pair. Again, very different in terms of type and kind.
Daisy Abrazino and Davis Mills. Or I'm sorry, Tatum Mills and Blaine Abrazino for our Class 4.
Well, really, it seems like your prospect show's just been filled with really tough pairs of cattle that are very, very different in terms of type and kind. I like the young man's black steer here to be your class winner in this group. To me, he's just a little bit more appropriate in the set of his hind leg in motion and in tandem. He's a bigger pin, bigger ended calf with a little more shape to his quarter and stifle. And then couples that with a really nice, attractive look there through his front end. I didn't read him just as soft there in his rear flank, maybe as the calf, the white steer here, but a very, very tough pair. I liked his just bone and feature the set of his hind leg a little nicer. This steer came in, and I thought he was going to be a winner here for us because he's real good in terms of his body shape and his body depth. Young lady, I get right in behind him. He'll fade to his pins, and he'll flatten in terms of his stifle, and just a little shuffly in the set and travel of his hind leg. But a good pair there. If you would, give them both a nice hand here, and we'll get you a champion overall prospect. Well, 5 classes, not a lot of numbers in your prospect show, so we do have some different types and kinds represented out here. Your Belty steer, just a good steer in terms of moderation and body shape. A little plainer through his front end, but man, just a good steer from his shoulder blade back. I like this white flank steer, quite a good deal. To me, he has the right type of presence and looks prospecty still, in my opinion. If you study the shape of his head, his crest, his chest floor, and shoulder, he just has continuation and room to go. Great structure, no question to me. Is he the best built one in motion in the lineup? Still has a beautiful show steer balance. You know, I could clean up his sheath just a little bit, and he's not going to be just overwhelmingly punchy in his own right when he gets to be a big fat. But he balances so well. His structure is tremendous. And I think feeding-wise and feeding window, that steer's got room to go. And again, he looks like a prospect steer and fits his weight really well for me. The black and white steer I like from the profile very well. He's a long-necked, up-fronted steer with some extra extension to him. A little small in his rear foot, a little hindered in his pastern, and I'd like to just blow him apart. As I stepped in behind him, there through his pins and his quarter. I also really like this smoke steer. Standing here second to last here in line. That steer's just real hard to pick major dings and holes in. Good down his top line, has bone, has balance, and certainly just a nice type of a calf. He's a little up in terms of his shoulder and his front knee. I can set him back in that regard. And again, as you watch those cattle walk right away from you, he will fade to his stifle and kind of pull in his hock there towards his base, but a very good steer standing still. We just concluded with a big stout-footed, big-legged one that's got a lot of muscle shape, a lot of power to him when you get in behind and down in his foot size. You know, he too, like a few we've discussed through the prospect show, a little tight in his pastern and his hind leg for me when I study the steer in motion, a little twisted out, a little straight in terms of his structure. Certainly a big, powerful, stout steer with some extension to him. Fits in the mix really, really nicely. Again, in the prospect show, I said it earlier in the pig show earlier yesterday, I don't care how much muscle they have. I just want to find the best feet and legs and the best design for me. We'll drop in a second here, but a very good lineup here. Give them a nice round of applause if you're around ringside, please. We'll get you a champion and reserve prospect.
Congratulations to Blaine as our champion, and Colt Thomas is our reserve. We have 3 classes for our Fat Steer show. And we'll get that rolling when you're ready. Two entries to start Class 1, Alan Edwards and Braxton Bowers.
good pair to start out your fat steer show. We're going to use the young man in the cowboy hat with a smoked steer here to be your class winner. Both these cattle are, again, 1130 to 1180, somewhere in there weight-wise. So they're both very raw still and very bare, but both very good cattle. I told the young man here, just looks identical to his little prospect steer he just got done showing. Very similar molds. Good-looking, attractive steer up through his front end. He's got a real firm, aggressive shape over his loin edge and now the backside of his shoulder. Buddy, I think just keep feeding on him, and the fatter he gets, the smoother he gets, he's going to really come together into his own. He's nice, structured, and attractive, a real ripped-up, the high-cut ability steer as well. I like that calf very, very well. Steer coming in next, the black steer here, about 1170, and again, he's probably got a little more right over his first few ribs than the steer we just discussed. Good feeding, moderate, practical steer, but it just needs a little more bone, a little more foot size and muscle shape. When I get right in behind him, he kind of funnels to his quarter, a little plainer through his neck and front end. But two very good steers to start your fat steer show. Congratulations to those two young men.
Class 2 is Ella Huey.
Just a single entry here, and this calf is really, really good. I wanted to pet on him a little bit just because she said her end goal was in February with this steer, and he hadn't been handled by a judge, so he's just a little nervy and antsy on us. But I told the young lady, man, when she came in showmanship, I kind of said, "Ooh, thank goodness, we got a fat steer show today." I mean, this thing right here is real, real good. He is dense and muscular and stout and big and chunky up high, but he looks like a show calf, and he fits together well. His hind leg, his foot quality, and just genuine stoutness off the charts good. I mean, he is not just a black steer that's pretty and hairy. That's a black steer of true stoutness and true muscle to him. Beautiful calf. Again, he's still pretty raw still. You got time. You got plenty of time to get it on him. If that steer's chest and throat holds together, it's game on. That thing's pretty darn nice. Congrats to you.
Congrats to Ella as our Class 2 winner. Class 3 will finish out our fat steer show with 2 entries, Michelle Hartman, Caroline Edwards.
us another nice pair of them here. And again, when you have 5 fat steers in a show, you don't really expect much. But we've had some really, really nice cattle hit the ring here. Very, very good steers. Young lady's black and white steer was another one that came in showmanship, and I was excited to see how he'd stack up here as we got through your big show. That calf's great-footed, great jointed, and real sound, and attractive in the way he's made. We're going to have to make a call here. Is he just stout enough? Get through the twine or the fit job there in his flank and down low. Is he just pulled down, soft enough in his flank? Is he just burly enough when you get on top or right in behind him? That's the call we'll make here in a second. But I'm telling you what, we're going to have a good lineup of show steers here. That's a very, very nice calf. I like this steer. Just practical kind. He's good structured. Got a great rib shape laid into him. Looks like he's been a good feeding calf. And again, I think she said about 1370, 90, somewhere in there. And a really good finish, good fed steer. Probably doesn't have the same just muscle and bone and attractive look like the steer we just talked. But both good cattle. Would you give them both a nice round of applause here before we get you a champion in reserve? Wrapping up, put a bow on the weekend here. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very enjoyable here. I don't even know how many total numbers we've went through between a showmanship, your breeding and market shows on the 4 species. But it's been very fun. It's been a great show. It's been really enjoyable. And as I said, when they told me the numbers on the fat steer side, didn't really expect just a whole lot, to be truthful with you. You don't like these 3 steers. Once again, we see stock very, very different. They're all 3 good. Hey, buddy, your gray steer is really, really nice. He is as good looking through his front end as any of them, as ripped up and raw in his back shape and over his loin edges all. Unfortunately, bud, there's 2 big hussies that are powerful and ready to rumble there in the back, and they're real good. We need to soften his flank just a little bit, smooth him up in his tail head, and just give him a little bit more substance underneath. You've done an awesome job all day, buddy, showing from showmanship with your little Angus all the way till now. You've done an awesome job, and I want you to know that. These 2 cattle here, man, they're really, really good, and I like them, and obviously a little different in terms of type and kind. One of them's a little dolled up, a little more fit up versus the other. We talk about the cattle, and I think the one that wins the second class, if you want to just use the word stout or dense or husky, any of those words, it better darn sure be on a calf like that. It starts up front. He's got a stout melon and head laid into him and forearm, but it's not gross. It's not unattractive. There's no ugly TH bump. It still lays in good. In terms of his front end and from there back, that is one big ribbed unit. He handles it well, and he's got a fat hind leg and a good flank laid into him. He's not fit up or dolled up maybe like the other steer, but I still naturally eat him better in his flank, and even not fit up, I think he's bigger legged and bigger footed. So that steer's really, really nice. The call is you keep feeding him into your February show. I was just trying to hold his chest and his throat in just to match everything, but that calf is really, really nice. This black and white steer I like so well. He is attractive, nice neck, smooth shoulder, good line steer that's extra sound on his feet and legs. The call we need to make on him is you watch those cattle go right away from you. He will fade and just flatten to his stifle. He's a little snug in his flank and maybe not just as big in his foot and his bone but those are two wonderful cattle. Again, they've been a lot of fun to study and just sit and talk about. So they can go either direction if you like, but at the end of the day, you know, I was born in Indiana. I was raised around good, pretty show steers, good black steers, if you would. I live in Texas now, and I know that cattle got to slick, cattle got to have muscle, and they got to have power, and I think there's one that suits me well. We'll drop in a second here. Actually, we won't. Single entry, young lady, you got the grand champion. Congrats to you. Last time I'll take the mic here. It's been a lot of fun. Again, thank the show crew and everybody here for putting this deal on. It's been an awesome event. There's been great cattle and great kids through the ring. Give them a nice round of applause here. I'll get you a reserve grand, and good luck to you down the road. God bless. Safe travels. Young lady, you got the reserve. Congratulations to you.
Judge, one more round of applause, please, before he gets out of here for us. Congratulations to Ella as our grand champ, and our reserve is Michelle Hartman. Are we starting parents? Crystal Taylor. Are we starting parents, or is there a break? parents entering the ring for the parent cattle showmanship with 4 entries. Kelly Sprinkle, Bill Simmons, Eric Buckner, Wyatt Kay. Just seem to be in deep deliberation. Who's going to win?
Hello? Oh gosh, that's loud. Okay, hey everyone. So, oh god, okay. This was like a really tough group, and we're really proud of the parents for getting out here and doing this. It was really hard to pick, but I think we have it like we want it, and we're gonna place the top 5. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about our grand, and what made us pick this person was when we switched cows, they did something like different than like everyone else, and this is like what you're supposed to do when you switch cows. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the reserve.
Okay, and our reserve was a really good one that as you got him around the ring, he was able to go around and bring it smoothly, also get his head up and do some different things that we really liked. So we'll go out and talk about the third.
We also really like the third place girl. We think she did really good setting her heifer up and just overall did good.
Okay, we're gonna go out and place some for you. Round of applause for these parents.
Kelly Sprinkle is our champion. Bill Simmons, our reserve. Thanks to everyone